All right, fourth graders, I got a lesson for you today. What we're going to do is we're going to review a little bit to get started here. We're going to go back over those vocabulary words for this unit. You recall I filled up the entire whiteboard with all of these definitions. You've got about 16 of them, so let's just review them once again. The first one was an acute angle. An acute angle is an angle where the angle is less than 90 degrees but greater than 0. So an acute angle, less than 90 degrees, greater than 0 degrees. The next vocabulary was intersecting lines. Intersecting, I-N-T-E-R-S-E-C-T-I-N-G, intersecting lines. And intersecting lines are just two lines that cross each other. There's a line, there's another line. They intersect at this point. Are you remembering this stuff? Next word on our list is a line. And a line is just what it says it is. It's just a line. And a line can go on forever unless it's defined as a line segment. A line segment would be part of a line that's identified by 2 points. So it's just a part of a line. They call that a line segment. So we have a line and we have a line segment. Line of symmetry. Now how many times, well, let me use the red marker on this one, since I'm going to do my best to draw a heart for you. A line of symmetry. Any shape that can be folded in any direction, I might add, where when you fold it, it's the exact image of itself. Where that line that you would fold that image appears, that's the line of symmetry. Now, this object is a symmetric object because you can fold it and this half would be the same as that half. I know you all understand that. An obtuse angle. Now, obtuse, O-B-T-U-S-E, obtuse angle is an angle where the angle itself, this angle is greater than 90 degrees, as opposed to the acute angle, which was less than 90 degrees. See the difference between those two angles? So the wider the angle beyond 90 degrees, your 90 degree would be like that. So this is greater than 90 degrees. And they call those obtuse angles. Parallel lines. Any lines that run alongside each other and never ever touch. They can run parallel as far as you can imagine, but they never ever touch each other or intersect. Remember, intersect is one of our vocabulary words. That's where lines cross. So parallel lines, they just run together. Now, some of the shapes, a parallelogram. Parallel, remember parallel. Parallel are lines that run in the same direction. So those two lines are parallel with each other. And even if I skew those lines a little bit, this line is parallel with this line. This line is still parallel with that line. They run in the same direction. Just like that. They just keep going. Same direction, equally spaced apart. That's called a parallelogram. A rectangle. We all know what a rectangle is. A rectangle is also a parallelogram because these sides are parallel. The opposite sides are parallel. Now, we know that parallel lines run alongside each other and never touch. And we know that lines can intersect, and that's called an intersecting line. Another vocabulary that you need to understand is perpendicular. When something is perpendicular, it means it crosses at a 90-degree angle. This angle here is 90 degrees. So that line is perpendicular. Remember that. When you look at a series of lines in an exercise, some of those lines may intersect at different angles. But if they do intersect at 90 degrees, then those lines are perpendicular. Now, we all know what a point is. You got a line. Any spot on that line becomes a point. It can be defined any number of different ways. And as you work through some of the problems, you'll see what those definitions can be. We talked about a rectangle. A rectangle is an object with four sides, and the opposite sides are parallel with each other. That makes it a rectangle. It's also a parallelogram. You know, that's one of the things about geometry, is that sometimes there's several different titles of what the shape is, even though they're the same shape. One of my favorites is the rhombus. Now, we all know what a square is. Square is an object that has four sides, and each side is the same dimension. Now, what makes a rhombus is if you take sides that are the same length and you skew it, it's no longer a square, because see, a square, every corner is 90 degrees. A rhombus, though, in a rhombus you have two obtuse angles and two acute angles. So that means you got two angles in a rhombus that are greater than 90 degrees, two angles that are less than 90 degrees. That's how a rhombus is defined. It can also be in the shape of a diamond, which also is called a diamond. Again, sometimes there are several names for the same object. right angle. A right angle, by definition, is any angle that's 90 degrees. So, looking at our circle, if we cut that into fourths, and we start at 0 and go this way, this is 90 degrees. You add another 90 degrees to it, this is 180. You add another 90 degrees to it, it's 270. And if you add another 90 degrees to it, it's 360. 360 degrees represents an entire circle. And if you notice where the lines intersect, each one of these is a 90-degree angle. And because they call them 90-degree angles, they call them right angles. A right angle is a 90-degree angle. So you'll hear it referred to those ways. You'll hear it referred to as a 90-degree angle. You'll hear it referred to as a right angle, and it means the same thing. Square, you know what a square is. Straight angle. It's kind of a silly term. A straight angle, remember our circle. If I was to do that, that is a straight angle, and the measurement is 180 degrees. So any angle that's at 180 degrees is a straight angle. It doesn't have to go that way. It can also go in that direction. It's still a straight angle. So it's really just a straight line. It doesn't, the line itself doesn't bend. It's just straight. It represents 180 degrees on the circle. Like a right angle represents 90 degrees, a straight angle represents 180 degrees. Trapezoid. So many words that you got to know what they mean. A trapezoid is a shape where only one set of sides are parallel. The other ones are not. Oops. This line isn't parallel with that line. But these two lines do run in the same direction parallel. That's called a trapezoid. Now, those are the 16 vocabulary words. You can refer back to them in your book. Tomorrow, we will begin with lesson 10.1, and we'll talk, oh, there's another word. I didn't remember seeing that in the vocabulary. Lines, rays, and angles. You remember what a ray is? We will, yeah, it's funny how they don't have that in your vocabulary, but then they throw it on you. So anyhow, a ray is any sectional line that runs in a direction, and it's defined by some points. Tomorrow we'll look at page 553 in your math book, and we'll begin that lesson, and we'll talk about lines, rays, and then the angles that they form and how we determine what the degree of those angles are. I know we had some practice with the protractor, so you still should have a pretty good idea, but I do want to refresh your memories before we move on to anything more difficult. So anyhow, that's our math lesson for today, fourth graders. Take a look at your book, look ahead to that next chapter and refresh your memory, and we'll see you tomorrow.